Well, he is the man that you see every single day on Austin and Berm, the Beat podcast. Sometimes on Talkin' Tuesday. You really see him everywhere. He is Austin Ward. And Austin, we are through the first scrimmage of fall camp, so we know everything.
What's it called?
We are through the first scrimmage of what I call fall camp and you call training camp, so we know everything. Is that correct?
I don't think we know everything, not even close.
That is wrong. First thing that jumped out to you from Ryan Day in his press conference, it was obviously he said he's got to see the film still. I was hoping to give us a little more insight, but typical. That's what you get. Coaches want to go back and see everything. What jumped out to you?
Yeah, I think everything Ryan Day says all the time is intentional, and we say this on the Austin and Berm show. He makes no accidents. So the level of praise that was offered to Bo Jackson unprompted is pretty significant because, we, Adam, have a tendency to overreact and hyperanalyze every single thing that happens for Ohio State. Well, Bo Jackson was with the quote-unquote twos during those first three practices. 1 week later, Ryan Day saying he's had an awesome first week of camp. A lot of these coaches behind the scenes are talking about, the upside, the special potential that Bo Jackson brings to that position. They need it. Now, Ryan Day was also balancing out that praise with some reminders that a year ago he said Bo Jackson was not making players miss at the second level. Still need to see that in real games, but through one scrimmage and 9 practices, it feels like he is back on the rise, and maybe that shouldn't come as a surprise for someone who was a 1,000-yard rusher as a true freshman at Ohio State, but they've been waiting to see that back on the field after missing all of spring practice.
All right. When you hear his praise of Bo Jackson, I thought it was fairly honest. He admitted the film did not show last year what they wanted to see from Bo Jackson.
And Adam, that was the first time that he's really said that publicly.
Yes. Continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, much of that conversation had been behind closed doors, private, because the fingers were pointed towards the offensive line. They were pointed towards the pace of play and all these other things. And really, the Ohio State coaching staff, starting at the top with Ryan Day, said there were opportunities for the running game to hit and connect against Indiana and Miami where the backs with the football were not maximizing the opportunity in front of them. So this is one of the first times that I can recall, and I'm sorry to interrupt you on that front.
No, but I interrupted you. I apologize.
But it's just as notable that he is bringing that to the forefront in the evaluation of Bo Jackson, because if this team is going to go where it wants to go, and Arthur Smith is going to elevate the rushing attack the way he was brought in to do, much of that weight is going to fall on the shoulders of Bo Jackson and or Isaiah West and or Jacoby Jackson. But Bo Jackson is the one who has done it the most for the Scarlet and Gray so far. So that's where the challenge is issued.
It was the first time that I could recall. Like when he said it, my ears went, oh, he's made that a public statement now that he wants. And we do talk about it. He'd never, if he's in front of a mic, he knows what he's saying and why he's saying it. In that same regard, there is the talk about Legend Bay. I thought it was interesting. Legend comes back from suspension. Ryan really never touched on that again. And he's already leaning into he can get there and be that level. Do you think that's intentional in the idea? If you had to project now, we are 3 weeks out from the season. How many reps do you think in that Texas game and I'm throwing this at you blind, so I understand you didn't plan this out. You think that he gets the ball? We see the ball in Legend Bay's hand.
He's a difficult one for me to project right now, Adam, and it's not because it's 9 practices into training camp. It's not because you sprung this on me after the first scrimmage. If you'd asked me today, tomorrow, or yesterday, I'd still have the same difficulty answering that, because Legend Bay, the way Ohio State, the coaches, the players, the strength staff, the way they talk about his athleticism, it's artistic, that it's unlike anything that they've seen. He's compared to Tyreek Hill, Curtis Samuel, and that sort of hybrid role does lend itself to a variety of ways to get touches for him, whether that is as a receiver, whether that is out of the backfield, whether that's shifting him in motion and getting different pictures for the defense to consider. And you say, well, that means you could do this with him at any time. Maybe that is 10 touches a game. But Ohio State's still not going to change the pace of play that it is going to operate at. And so that leaves fewer touches. I think if he gets a combination of carries and passing targets against Texas, it would probably still be countable on one hand. But that would still be a pretty big deal for a true freshman.
I was thinking 5, so it's funny you said on one hand. Maybe 6. That would take 2 hands.
Some people have 6 fingers.
That's accurate. So with that said, do you feel I thought this was the first time in a while from Ryan Day that he seemed confident in the running back room. He's been outwardly, I mean, he said in the spring, where are you most concerned? The running back room.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a good, if you're a Buckeye fan, I think, and I'll say it, when I look at this season, that we can talk about, well, you got to have Julian play up to his potential. You got to have the guys on defense fill in those roles like we expect them to. This season's going to go as far as the running backs take them. That's why Arthur Smith is here. Is this the most confident that you think Ryan Day's been? And does that give you the confidence heading into this season with the running backs?
Yeah, but at the same time, Ryan Day made clear that the work is not done for them. They didn't tackle them to the ground for every single snap on Saturday. At least that's what Ryan Day intimated. We didn't get to see that. We can always take his word for that because I've never really known him to be much of a liar behind a microphone. But I think it is a direct reflection of what we started with. They did not have Bo Jackson to evaluate in spring. They didn't have Isaiah West to evaluate in spring. Those are the two guys that they're really banking on to buoy that backfield. And if Bo Jackson was slow out of the gates, if he needed to prove something with the twos, whatever the cause explanation would be for those reps early on in training camp, if now Ryan Day is looking at that and saying, that's the next level of Bo Jackson, I think that's where the confidence comes from. I think that's why he's expressing it at a level that he didn't a week ago, that he didn't at the Hilton Chicago for Big Ten Media Days, that he didn't throughout spring. That was a key piece that was missing, and now it feels like that momentum is building again.
Do you get a kickback from the Hilton Chicago for mentioning them? Is that?
I just want to. I'm really upset that that's where it was. And so I can't get it out of my mind because you know what I don't get at a Hilton Chicago, Adam?
What?
Marriott points.
There you go. It's brutal. You do get Hilton points, but you don't have a Hilton card. Got to get one.
Well, I didn't say
this is not a sponsor. When we also look at what Ryan Day talked about following the scrimmage, I thought a big thing, he said they're going to get Austin Sareveld back next week.
Yes.
We had all heard it was just a minor thing, and I think there are a lot of people that immediately go back to when Seth McLaughlin went down, and your heart stops. You hear, one of the leaders of the offensive line is out to start the season. He'll be back. What did you take of him trying to figure out this offensive line? We knew this is kind of where he wanted to have a decision, but the Sareveld thing throws a little bit of a wrench into it.
Not a huge surprise to me, Adam, to be honest with you. That deadline was not hard and fast and firm. Like, it was subject to change, and an injury is going to upset that apple cart a little bit, especially when you're talking about the single most important domino that exists there. Returning captain, a returning left tackle, and if you're going to move him, you better be absolutely sure. So in some ways, this was a silver lining that Ian Moore, Josh Padilla, Philip Daniels all got a chance for maybe more meaningful reps than they would have got otherwise. You don't want to be operating for very long without Austin Sareveld because whatever permutation of 5 Ohio State comes up with thank you, for Ryan Day, Tyler Bowen, Arthur Smith, Austin Sareveld is in that group without question. He's the most important of that 5, which we can make cases for Carson Hensman at center, and that would be a valid one. Luke Montgomery returning, with multiple years of starting experience. Austin Sareveld, Arthur Smith called him a 4-position player. Left tackle, left guard, right tackle. What's the best spot for him? Ohio State wants to figure that out, and the key part of that is what's best, not just for Austin Sareveld, but what's best for Ohio State. And so after one scrimmage, they're not any closer to that, at least publicly. They might have a pretty good idea how they want this to wind up, but until you actually have everybody out there fully healthy and operating cohesively, that's still going to be subject to change.
I want to go to the defensive side of the ball. When does the J. Timmons hype get too much? Because it feels like we're now talking about a guy who has not played a single snap in a real game as a legitimate starter week in and week out, or start is a strong word, a legitimate share of the snaps week in and week out. Is that where you think we are? I mean, again, Ryan was very complimentary of J. Timmons. He was quick to jump on him as a freshman that is going to play.
I don't think that we have taken the hype any further than Ohio State has itself. When you put J. Timmons on the field for those first 3 practices that are open to the public, when you talk about him coming out of a scrimmage and still shining, that role is going to be as big as J. Timmons can make it. And Ohio State has to have a nickel. They are clearly of the mindset that he can do that for them right away. So I don't know that we're taking it too far. It is a lot of pressure to put on him, but again, that's not coming from the outside. That's from inside the building. That's inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. The opportunities that they're giving him and the evaluations that they are handing out publicly for him, that's where, the hype train is barreling down the tracks. Because for me, outside of Jeremiah Smith, like basically one time, I'm not sitting here saying that any true freshman has to come in and immediately help Ohio State, or that they can, or even that they should. That's not the goal that you want. But there are exceptions, and Devin Sanchez proved that a year ago when he played against Texas. Jeremiah Smith 2 years ago, we all know what he did. It's still very rare that happens, and it's not just that you can't just hand it to somebody. It does have to be earned, and everything that Jay Timmons has done throughout spring camp, when he had the minor setback at the end of it, health-wise, then returned through OTAs and summer workouts, every single time you're checking the box in a positive fashion, and now a scrimmage and 9 practices under his belt, they're not tapping down the brakes on that in any way, shape, or form. So I think you're absolutely going to see him on September 12th down there in Texas, and what he does with that opportunity then, we'll have to wait and see.
I thought that it was interesting that Ryan wanted to give a shout-out in the linebacker room to Alford and Riley Pettijohn. Didn't really give an order in which they're at. I think probably they're neck and neck as 2 great linebackers, just like you and I thought they would be.
What is this, a trap?
I was just going to say we're pretty much even in that regard. As for those that watch Talkin' Tuesday, Austin kind of...
Whose name did he say first?
It was alphabetical.
Oh, okay.
Alford Pettijohn. And I thought that was how he did it. Okay. With that said, I thought it was interesting, the Cody Simon question that was asked to him, because it does feel very similar in the linebacker. Why
don't you tell me about Cody Simon then?
Cody Simon's a great linebacker that someone might have underestimated a couple years ago. Okay. Cody, I do apologize. Is that where you see this linebacker room at? I mean, I don't think Peyton Pierce is sneaking up on anybody. Christian Allegro's certainly not sneaking up on anybody. But it does feel there's only been one preseason watch list that Ohio State doesn't have a candidate on for the awards. It is for that linebacker room. Does that feel the same as it did maybe 2 years ago?
I think Peyton Pierce can be an evolutionary version of Cody Simon. I think he's a little bit more athletic. It's going to be up to him to prove that he has the same leadership capacity. We're talking about a Block O, but we're also talking about someone who is, well-versed in the communication on the field and through the headset. Some of that is going to be new for Peyton Pierce. Not all of it, but some of it. As you get into those games, especially keep coming back to Texas, it's less than a month away. It's on the road. It's going to be a difficult environment. Even for the defense, it tends to be a little bit quieter in there, but you have to be able to make sure that you are communicating clearly and everyone is on the same page, because that is still a high-level offense, a very good play caller, and one of the better quarterbacks in the country coming back in Arch Manning. So, for Peyton Pierce, he's not unaccustomed to playing in big games, and he has performed in them. Christian Allegro has faced a Big Ten schedule and proven that he can be one of the most productive players in this conference already. But you don't want to go through this year, if you're Ohio State and Matt Patricia and James Laurinaitis, with just 2 guys that you can count on. So the elevation for a TJ Alford and a Riley Pettijohn and Ryan Day also through Garrett Stover in there is significant, because if you look at these last couple years, and for the Cody Simon year that you alluded to, it was Cody Simon, Sonny Styles, and Arvell Reese. Last year it was Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, and Peyton Pierce. Someone is going to need to solidify themselves.
Yeah, I like that.
As the third guy. And whether that's Riley Pettijohn, TJ Alford, Garrett Stover, or some collection of all of them, Ohio State needs that. You're not just going to be able to get through this year with just 2 linebackers.
Could be Riley Pettijohn.
It could I'm not saying it can't be.
Could be Alford. Both very, very good linebackers. That's a good sign to have, though, when you have 2 guys that could be the and are very, 100%. Very talented. Last thing I'll get you out on.
Okay.
When you look at this defensive line,
okay,
we got to hear from some of the guys this week, got to hear from Quay. We did hear Ryan Day pretty much set the edge there. He said it's going to be Kenyatta and Bo coming off the edge. I thought that was an interesting, just a quick little snippet. He was talking about the offensive line, but kudos to you. You've leaned into Bo Atkinson this year and his growth, and I think we've seen that. How do you think Quay and James are coming along in this defense?
James Smith, I would start with him, and that's not a knock. I don't mean that as a slight on Quay Rasaw in any way, shape, or form, because
we expect him to be a starter, do we not?
James Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there's a fascinating dynamic at play here, because we almost have to get rid of this idea, maybe especially for the defensive line, that it's a traditional depth chart and 4 players at the top, because it is going to be opponent specific. It could be week to week based on not just performance, but what new wrinkles Matt Patricia and Larry Johnson are putting out there on that defensive line, because what John Walker provides with his size and strength is not necessarily the same as what James Smith offers with his speed and ability to rush the passer and collapse the pocket. It's not the same as what Edric Houston or Will Smith Jr. can do. They're more known commodities at Ohio State, but the mixing and matching of those 4, I think, is very much in play. Now, James Smith, what he looks like right now compared to when he arrived 8 months ago is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Would be the word that I would use for
Congratulations to Mickey
Marotti doing amazing work. Anthony Schlegel, both of these guys. John Walker taking that as well. And
they've been vocal about it, that it's just different here.
And you also seek that out if you're a high achiever like James Smith, if you're like Quay Rasaw, and I think the Rasaw piece is interesting. He talked on Thursday, I believe, about leaving Ohio State after his visit, like not really sure if it was going to be the right fit. And then it was thinking about the way Matt Patricia was going to use him. He is a little bit of a Swiss Army knife in that he can be a pass rushing threat behind Kenyatta Jackson. He can help at linebacker if need be, outside linebacker. He can, play out in the flats and cover and do a lot of different things. So, to try and nail down a specific role for him, I think what will happen for Quay Rasaw that's different than James Smith potentially is that there could be games where Quay Rasaw plays 40 snaps and there could be games where he plays 15. So it's going to be subject more to matchups for him. James Smith, I think you're going to count on him from a week-to-week basis, even if it might not be the first snap.
All right, he is Austin Ward. Hear him every day on The Beat, the Austin and Berm Show. That includes great breakdowns with Snappy Jays when the Buckeyes talk. And so many, you get like Stock Watch and
Talking Tuesdays with Television's Adam King.
Talking Tuesdays, but so many different things all throughout the week. He is Austin Ward. I'm Adam King.